Hey guys, my name is Amanda and today I'm talking about breastfeeding. This video is called Breastfeeding is Hard because it is. It's so hard and I never knew this before I had a baby. You know, I knew that it was going to be an aspect of being a mother, but I didn't realize how consuming and exhausting it really was going to be. So in this video, I'm just going to talk about my experience and a few things that I wish I would have known before having Theo. So I got pregnant when I was 21 and had Theo when I was 22. And I will be the first to admit that I was quite naive about a lot of different things. And one of those was breastfeeding, for sure. Yeah, I definitely did a little bit of research on different feeding methods like formula and breastfeeding and pumping. But kind of from the get-go, I assumed that I was going to breastfeed. And I think having that expectation there just made things a little bit harder, because when breastfeeding didn't work out great, then I felt like a bad mom. Fortunate that Theo from the get-go had a pretty good latch. He was really pretty good at breastfeeding. I think the biggest learning curve at the start was just the fact that I was a first-time mom and I did not know how to breastfeed. So I was thankful that there were nurses at the hospital that kind of helped teach me how. Something else that I wish I would have known going into breastfeeding was that it was going to hurt and it was going to be tiring. I do realize that when your baby is latched on wrong, that often is why it's painful. But I think regardless of how your baby's latched, it's not the most comfortable thing. Like, it's, as much as it's natural, it's exhausting, it's draining, and it can hurt. There were nights, especially in that first month, where I would be up feeding him and just bawling my eyes out as he fed because I was so sore. Not just in my boob, but like my shoulders and my back ached so much because he was just feeding constantly and you're kind of hunched over, and so that was so hard, especially again in the start. I would say around month 3 was when that started to improve. He started to feed less and I started to, you know, get better at holding him. And once he was like long enough and he could almost sit in my lap while he fed, that took so much pressure off my back. By month 4, I wasn't able to make enough to keep up with him, so we started using formula once a day. And I remember I felt like a bad mom, or like a failure because of that. And that's really sad that I felt that way, because no mom should ever feel that way. You hear all the time that breast is best, and I understand where that comes from. I realize that there's a lot of reasons why breastfeeding is great for your baby, but I've also heard the term that fed is best, and I think that's really important to hear as a mom, that at the end of the day your baby needs to be fed, and whether that's through breastfeeding or formula or pablum or whatever it may be, that, you know, you can only do so much. I just wanted to share a few more things that I have learned or have just been going through. One being that I struggle with breastfeeding in public, even if it's just in front of like extended family. Again, he's 5 months old and I'm still learning how to confidently breastfeed in public, whether that's with a cover or no cover, or going into their bedroom. It's hard. I really struggle with it. I struggle with wanting to be modest and covered myself, but also wanting to be confident and not tied down. Yeah, it's a struggle and I'm still learning. So don't feel discouraged if you're not comfortable breastfeeding in public. I think it takes time. I think it takes intentionality and confidence, and everyone's gonna do it different. Some people have no problem feeding in public, and other people do, and that's okay. Yeah, and then one last thing is just that it can be easy to feel like you're tied down to your baby when you're breastfeeding, because quite literally they do need you every couple hours. And so I think it's important to just get out when you can, you know, take breaks. If your husband can watch your baby between feeds so you can go on a walk or go to the gym or hang out with a friend, do it. Take the breaks. That really helps with not feeling tied down to your baby and helps you to appreciate them more when you can be with them. So I didn't do that enough in the first half of his life, but I'm starting to, and it's really helping. The thing that's so neat about being a mom is that, you know, everyone can give you their advice, including myself, but at the end of the day, you have to learn your own baby, and your baby is constantly changing. So what worked for me and Theo for the first month didn't the second, and didn't the third month, and it keeps changing. Like, he just started pablum this past month, and feeding has looked different, and that's okay. It's hard to keep up with. It's hard to know if you're doing the right thing, but just keep on going. There were times where I was very, very tempted to quit breastfeeding, and times where I still think that I might want to be finished at 6 months or 7 months instead of a year. But at the end of the day, I'm very thankful that I have kept feeding him that way, just because I enjoy it. I think that for us it's easiest and it's most affordable. So yeah, find what works for you. Don't feel guilty for feeding your baby, and yeah, ask for advice, ask for help, but at the end of the day, make your own decisions, learn your baby, have grace on yourself. It does get easier, as they always say. Yeah. Hey, buddy.